Welcome to Eerie Bites of History, your daily serving of strange bites of the past. Today, we have a mystery in the skies, a pact beyond the stars, and a fire that burned through secrecy, all of which happened on October 10th. Let's begin. On October 10th, 1933, a Boeing 247 lifted off from Newark, New Jersey. United Airlines Flight 23. 7 souls aboard, a routine trip to Chicago that would never arrive. As the plane soared over the farmlands near Chesterton, Indiana, witnesses on the ground reported a thunderous explosion ripping through the sky, followed by a rain of twisted metal and fire. The aircraft disintegrated mid-air, scattering debris across the countryside. Every passenger, every crew member, was gone in an instant. When investigators combed through the wreckage, they were baffled. The engines were intact, fuel lines normal. Then they found it, a fragment laced with the traces of nitroglycerin. Someone had planted a bomb aboard. Everything in the front of the blast had hurled forward, everything behind it blown backward. The tail section was found over a mile away. This was the first confirmed act of airline sabotage in history, yet no one ever came forward. No group claimed responsibility, no suspects were ever caught. It was as if the bomber had vanished into thin air. Adding to the unease, one witness recalled seeing a man boarding the plane clutching a brown package. Authorities later tracked that item, but it wasn't the bomb, so where did the real device come from? And who placed it, and why? So, no demands, no suspects, no confession. Just a plane torn apart mid-air. Maybe the real terror of Flight 23 is how whoever did it possibly got away clean. On October 10th, 1967, the world looked at the stars. The world looked to the stars, and quietly signed a pact shrouded in both hope and unease. It was called the Outer Space Treaty, a name that sounds almost mundane until you realize the truth of it. It was a set of laws for the void beyond the Earth. The nations of the world, locked in the Cold War, raced towards the heavens, and agreed to rules that forbade the weaponization of space, the claiming of the moon, and militarization of other celestial bodies. On paper, it was a promise of peace, but behind closed doors, officials whispered about something else. Why was the treaty needed so urgently? In the mid-1960s, strange signals had been intercepted, a radar echo that seemed to be coming from nowhere. Some astronauts had reported lights moving against the stars, and classified corridors that were growing fears, not just of each other, but what might already be out there. The treaty's wording is curious. It forbids the placement of weapons of mass destruction in orbit or on any celestial body. But why specifically that? Did they think they may have to defend against? Decades later, the Outer Space Treaty remains in force. Fragile promises that the cosmos will remain peaceful, but as nations and even private companies push forward in the dark, the same question lingers, like a whisper, through the static of deep space. This sounds straight out of a sci-fi movie. The treaty was pure optimism, or maybe it was a quiet admission that we are afraid of what we might find out there. After all, you don't make rules for a place unless you expect to meet somebody there. On October 10th, 1957, a faint orange glow flickered inside the cold walls of a reactor in Cumberland, England, a place called Windscale. What began as a simple temperature fluctuation soon turned into one of the most terrifying and secretive disasters of the atomic age. Deep inside pile number 1, the graphite core of the reactor began to smolder. At first, technicians thought it was just a minor heat spike, something that could be controlled, but the dials kept climbing, the temperature rising, and then came the unmistakable shimmer of flames. Fire burning at the heart of the nuclear reactor. For days, workers battled to contain it. Smoke and heat poured out, carrying with it something invisible, something deadly. The radioactive plume drifted silently across northern England, settling over villages, farms, and fields. At first, the government said very little. Reports were buried. Words like radiation and fallout were whispered, but not spoken. When the truth finally emerged, the world learned that Windscale had come terrifyingly close to melting down completely. A disaster that could have poisoned half the country. The reactor was sealed, and the name quietly changed, but officials insisted it would never happen again. For those who remember the light, the eerie orange of the dark, and the chilling realization that once the atom is unleashed, it never truly sleeps. It's terrifying to think that their solution was to hide. They changed a name, tossed on a band-aid, and moved on. But Windscale still lingers, not as a headline, in Cumbria, and it plagues the question, what else are they hiding, and what happened? What was the real effects of the plumage that the locals experienced? Like your history snack-sized? Drop us a comment with your favorite bite and subscribe. Join us daily for your eerie dose of the past.